Yeah, I'm with you.
Talk about landmines, though, because in the second round, too, you can also start to build your team the wrong way, especially if you feel like, real hoop. Sometimes real hoop and fantasy don't correlate. Anybody here in the second round that you're just like, I'm not drafting?
I'm not drafting. I mean, I like a lot of the players in the second round, man. It's not I think my no draft list is honestly, I think Donovan Mitchell is being graded a little bit too high. Last year, much of his value was tied to his spike in steals, and if that doesn't happen under JB Bickerstaff, a lot of the things I've been reading about the Cavs is that they're going to play through Evan Mobley a little bit more, get him more involved. Darius Garland has been a shell of himself, didn't really mesh that well with Donovan Mitchell yet. So I feel like something's got to give here. This is going to be a new philosophy. Maybe the ball moves a little bit more. Donovan Mitchell is a dog, 100%, and he's the guy that you want to have the ball in his hands late in the games. I just don't know that we're going to see the fantasy production we saw last year, where it's clear that like JB Bickerstaff was like, yo, just give the ball to Donovan, everybody else get out the way, and let's make it happen. But I also have concerns about his knee. He's had some knee troubles, happened in the playoffs. He had to miss games. The wear and tear could be creeping up on him a little bit. He's not that old, but what I'm saying, like, he's been utilized, heavy utilized player for much of his career. So I just think the price point is a little bit too high for me. Right now, he's going 16th is his ADP, so it's looking like a mid-second.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. It's not bad, but it's something where I would opt to get like a Kyrie Irving or Jalen Brunson,
Lillard.
Yeah. I would consider that. Yeah.
When you talk about knees, the one thing that bothers you with a guy like Mitchell, and I think you said it, like, he's not old, but like, because he's an explosive player. So
right.
Do you lose some of that explosion, or does the team try to protect you from yourself? Because as you start to get knee problems, that's the one thing that is going to go, is a little bit of your explosiveness. And when you're undersized at guard, it's like you kind of got to lean into that explosiveness. And if you can't, that's where we'll start to see a little bit more inconsistency. And even defensively, you're not going to be able to give the same effort. So hopefully with Donovan Mitchell, he finds a way to, like, they paid him. So I think hopefully he finds a way to be efficient without that and stay on the floor. But I am concerned about that because they don't have to lean into him. The team has other players who have been in and out of the lineup at times, but they're trying to build a championship team there too. And I think it was easy to see last year when the expectations were high and you had to lean on Donovan. It's like other teams knew that, and in the playoffs, it's very, very easy to calculate how to stop that. Like, that's the one thing. So I'm assuming they make some changes too. And I mean, D. Mitch, he's a good player, but like, for the talent you can get around him, I think he's pushed up a little high. Like, there's a few players give me KD over Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at Donovan's numbers, right, like, he's essentially he's one of the top scorers in the league. Top 10 in scoring. But then after that, what do you get? He's an all right rebounder. He'll get 5 assists, maybe. Yeah, that's fine. So he's looking at 25, 5, and 5, and he gets you threes. That's cool. And then that boost in steals. If he doesn't get those steals, he's pretty much. I'm trying to compare him to somebody else, but like, he's a lesser. George. That's probably on the high end for Paul. I mean, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not winning you any categories except for points and threes, right? That's pretty much. So he's a discounted Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not a hate thing. I think it's just what the player. I think it's more so the talent that's there around him that kind of pushes it down for me. It's a player that I don't want to draft.
I think he had a great season, but I think that this is drafted into his ceiling, not his floor. Which I don't know. I just feel like I could just see some regression coming back, and then Donovan Mitchell ends up being like probably more of a back end second round player than a middle to early second.
Put it this way: you can draft Donovan Mitchell and then have to take like a center or a different position in the third round, or you could take the player that you want and then get Tyrese Maxey in the third.
Right.
It's just like that's kind of the outlook, the way that I see it, essentially. When I actually talked about this just a second ago, but I think Domantas Sabonis is going a little too high, bro. I just think that when you eliminate 3 categories, essentially for me it's 3 categories. When you eliminate 3 categories, free throw percentage, steals, and blocks, when you kind of take that out of the equation, you are like, as much as he provides rebounding and points wise and field goal percentage wise, it's like, and even assist wise at big, like, that's helpful to have. It just really hurts the makeup of your team as you're going through. So say you took a player early on that's a 90% free throw percentage guy, or you took, a defensive guy to start your draft, or you're planning on doing that. It's like that significantly hampers your builds in my opinion. So I know he got pushed up because of all the triple doubles he was getting and all the double doubles he was getting. But I think that the novelty, we talk about real versus fantasy, I think that the novelty of points leagues is making his ADP rise in category leagues. And in category leagues, I think he's going a little too high. He should be more of a third round asset. I like the player. I'm from Sac. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Sac. So I love to play. I got the Laker hat on, but I'm from Sac. So the town loves him, and I know the hype. I get it. But I think when you're building out your fantasy team, you have to be able to be kind of more fluid, right? Like if there's a piece that's available on free agency, I don't want to not pick up a good player because he doesn't fit my build. And I think when you start to build like that with Domantas Sabonis, now you have to take that into effect. So I don't know. I think the negatives almost outweigh some of the positives when it comes to Sabonis. And that's the biggest concern I have with taking him in like the mid-second round.
Yeah, I think he's the second round version of Giannis, right? Which I think if you're building a team, if you have Giannis, draft Sabonis. But
just go all in, push your chips in.
Yeah, just push your chips in. But I feel you. So his best finish ever was 22.
Ever?
And that was 2 years ago. Yeah.
What was he last year?
He was 30 in 9-cat leagues. So I think it just speaks to the deficiencies that he does have. Like he will be among the league leaders. Like he led the league in triple doubles last year. Yeah. Probably most people probably don't know that. And he also had like 70 double doubles or something like that. Crazy. But he has a place if you can build the right team around him. My thing is, like you said, it's 3 categories he doesn't contribute. I'd argue it's 4. Threes,
I was trying not to go there.
Free throw percentage, stocks, and steals and blocks. Because he's under a steal a game. He's at 0.8. So all right, maybe he can get a steal or 2 here and there. But like 0.5 for your center for blocks is just not it. I'd much rather pick Chet Holmgren at that spot where I know that he is going to be efficient. He can shoot threes. He can get blocks and steals. He may not score as much and he may not rebound as much, but you can offset that in other places throughout your draft. I agree that I think it might be a little bit too high considering that his best finish ever was 22. Again, you're drafting him probably closer to his ceiling than his floor. So he could, if he doesn't, let's not forget, DeMar DeRozan just came here. That's a guy that's going to take and absorb some usage, right? Like this guy had like a 30% usage rate in Chicago. He's a late game hooper. They got him to increase the pace and the offensive efficiency. That just means to me more middies and a clogged paint. Like DeMar DeRozan can only,
you're right.
DeMar DeRozan can only do so many things. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a slasher and he's a midi guy. He's not going to shoot the 3 and stretch. So that's just going to clog the paint. I don't know if that means less opportunities for, Domantas to be the guy that he was, because before, they were operating, practically 5 out. Everybody was on the perimeters and Sabonis is doing his thing, being the focal point of that, driving, off the wing and shit. But I have
a lot of what they do is like dribble handoff type shit between De'Aaron and Sabonis, and they're kind of putting the defense in awkward spots. And like you mentioned, like DeRozan's a midi guy, so he's gonna be floating there in that second level.
Different.
Yeah. And so it's like you're actually, you're spot on with that. And DeRozan's a 20 to 25 point guy. It's not like he's gonna come in there and just be a 15-point player.
Yeah.
No. That's a hell of a point there, man. I don't know. It seems like a landmine to me in the second round, just taking a player like that, especially with more questions. And like you said, if we haven't seen a top 20 finish from Sabonis, why are we taking him in the top 20? Cold world, man.